Riva show this year is focusing on traceability, and they've invited 10 companies to come that are more digital in nature, that they have come up with ideas that will allow footwear companies to trace their impact on the environment. And the wonderful thing about these 10 companies is they all have very young people involved with them, and they have found ways to add value to manufacturers, to retailers, and kind of beyond to the consumer in the area of traceability. And when I say traceability, I think people are like, what exactly does that mean? I think in our mind we've thought about sustainability, and it's really an element of sustainability. It's a way for products to be able to have, if you will, a history. So like, where did the material come from? Who made the product? How was it made? Was it sustainably made? How did it get to this store? How did it get to the consumer? And I think in the footwear industry, what we're beginning to see is that people are moving from being consumers to being owners. And when you move from being a consumer to an owner, you take responsibility for the product that you're buying. And when you take responsibility for the product you're buying, you want the people that made that product to make it responsibly. And when you take responsibility for the product you're buying, you're willing to be the one responsible for that product for its end of life. And so it's really an exchange between the consumer and the makers and the brands happening in our industry. There's a lot of different ways that companies will decide to manage traceability. And I think that we as an industry will have to have a standard. And I think that once we have a standard, and I really do believe that standard will come from Europe. I come from the United States, and for the footwear industry, we look to Europe. And whatever direction Europe is going, then we're following that direction. And so a show like that we're at here can be involved with helping to set a standard and helping the rest of the world to move in that direction. I'm the sourcing expert on the scientific committee, and the things that I have seen develop over the last 6 months in sourcing have been just our major concern for the supply chain and for delivery. Delivery has become incredibly expensive for companies. If you're shipping Rolexes, you're probably okay. If you're shipping shoes, it's much more difficult because the cost of the containers have gone up 100%, if not more than that. And so on the sourcing side, what I see going on is that companies have to be better planned, and companies have to be able to work on alternatives. So perhaps rather than shipping from China, to a warehouse in another country, and then shipping it back to China, that perhaps the products will be made closer to where they're consumed or where we have new owners, right? And so I think in the sourcing model, things are becoming a little bit more complex, but they're also becoming a little bit simpler, meaning that if we make where we use, then it will be easier in a shorter supply chain. So I don't think that's going to answer every question, and it's not going to solve every problem that we have, but you will see an element of the supply chain that moves to a more local approach to making and consuming. And so I think you're seeing that in the sourcing space right now. The other thing that you're seeing in the sourcing space is that I think in the past, you may have 100 companies, and maybe 5 of those companies would talk about sustainability, and they would say this is important, and we're using it as a differentiator. What we've seen is that in the future, it might have been nice to be sustainable. In the future, it will be something that you need to do. And so what you're seeing is more and more companies are understanding that, and they are preparing their company to be ready for when the consumer wants their products to come from a sustainable source. The scientific committee, for the very first time, we're here at the show together. And this is my very first time at the show. And my impressions is I was in the footwear industry for almost 3 decades. I work for the Nike company, so I've gone to many shows in the United States, in Europe, in Asia. I'm very impressed with this show. And the reason that I'm impressed is that each of the people exhibiting are exhibiting at a very high level. And then I'm also impressed with the number of buyers that are here. And then I've had a chance to talk to a lot of the exhibitors just to say, are you satisfied with what you're getting? Are the buyers coming in? And I think it's a little bit like we're all just excited to be together again, and because obviously the exhibitors are happy that they can see their buyers face to face, because the industry that we're in is a product industry, but it's really a people industry, so we're in it because we enjoy the people that we sell to, that we buy from. And I mean, that's certainly a part of what a show can bring to you. For the scientific committee, this is our very first time to sit down together, and we have thought of so many different ideas that we can bring more value to the show and help anybody that comes and is a part of this show.